All right, let's talk about file names and naming conventions. Another really juicy subject you couldn't wait to get started with, right? This is very important. It's almost as important as naming your tracks. I'd say it's maybe possibly more important. Naming your files properly, organizing your folders in your file system and on your drives is really important part of the flow of creativity because you don't want it to slow you down. So let me show you how I set things up. It doesn't have to be that complicated. It can be really simple, but very intuitive to you and something that you're gonna understand in the way that you set it up. You don't have to follow my format, but you should follow a format that makes sense to you. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna hit the Save As command right now, which is up in the File menu, File, Save Project As. I'm just gonna use the shortcut command because I use it all the time, Control-Shift-S. And that is gonna bring up my window here. So I've got my structure here. This is my server, Run the Jewels. All of my computer servers are named after hip hop artists, by the way. So I have the Wu-Tang drive, which has all my music on it. Music, Ritalin 2, The Little Things. This is my second album I'm working on right now. And this is how I have my structure set up. So it's not that complicated, you know. I can go a few things down and I can go into, so let's start in Wu-Tang. This is kind of the subset of my Run the Jewels. If you see Run the Jewels, it's got these 4 rappers in it. Cypress Hill, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Wu-Tang. All right. So I'm going to go into Wu-Tang because I know Wu-Tang is all of my music and specifically music and video and creative stuff that I work on. So go into music here. And I have a whole list of things, different projects that I've been working on. I'm going to go into the Ritalin directory, and then I'm going to show you this is how I set up. So these are set up by album. So Ritalin 2 is the second album. So I go into there. I've got all these things in here. I have it organized into ideas, and I have it organized into song names. It's just a real basic structure that allows me to jump in here and say, okay, really quickly, how do I get to 16,000 days? Okay, 16,000 days is part of Ritalin 2, Ritalin music, you know, so I can figure out where that is really quickly. I know a lot of people like to save everything to the desktop. I highly discourage you from doing so. If you put everything on your desktop, inevitably your song is going to be right next to your tax prep documents or something really mundane. Talk about the terrible, terrible feeling to have, okay, I'm going to open up my scene. Oh, there's my tax prep I have to work on right now. That's not what you want. This is why we make file structures. This is why we make naming conventions for stuff. So in general, I just keep everything separate. I don't keep anything on the desktop. If you want to, if you only have one drive, we have a network drive that we put all of our stuff on and that gets backed up to the cloud. So that's kind of how our file structure works. That's probably more elaborate than you're going to do. You probably just have your own hard drive. But the same principles apply across the board. If you're organizing your files, you're going to want to find things quickly. So organize into directories and subdirectories. If you have a project, the project name. If you have a song name, just go right down there and drill down and find those things. And it's just going to make life a lot easier. Now, if you look, you can actually see my naming conventions. So you don't need to use underscores, but I tend to separate things with underscores rather than spaces, just so I don't have any issues cross-platform. Sometimes certain operating systems, especially Linux and things like that, have trouble using spaces in file names. Sometimes file transfer programs have trouble. They won't even tell you they have problems. And they'll be like, oh, sorry, we can't upload this file. And you'll be like, why? I don't understand. And it's really just because there's spaces in the file names and they're just like, well, we don't even know what kind of file this is. Like, how are we supposed to, like, engineers think this stuff up. They think it makes sense. They're like, of course you would use underscores. Why would you ever put a space in your file name? We're creative people. We use what works. From my perspective, you don't need to use underscores, but you do need to use something that's memorable. So I put here, I just have, really simply, the song name is 16,000 days, 16,000 days. And then I put underscore 21. That is version 21 of the song. Now look, you can see how many versions of the song I have. It's because I version up a lot. And versioning up is just taking the file that you've already been working on and changing the number. So every once in a while, I will hit Save As and say, all right, Little Things, Control-Shift-S, and it opens up the Little Things directory because I'm already in there. This file that I'm working on is already in here. Opens up this directory automatically. Directory and folder are interchangeable, by the way. And I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to scroll down here. This is version 23-1. I'm going to version up to 23-4. I only made a small incremental change, so I'm just going to give it a subversion instead of a full version. So I'm just going to say, okay, 23-4 is this version. So I just hit save, enter, done. Everything does what it needs to do in the background. It takes about 3 or 4 seconds, and you're back to work. Saving is extremely important. A lot of DAWs have backups that run while you're working. It's not a bad idea to have that enabled. It won't really slow you down. You probably won't even notice that it's happening. So if a piece of software does have that ability, might as well just do it. If it doesn't have that ability, you really have to make sure that you are saving very, very frequently. Save early, save often is the old adage that I learned a long time ago, and it has served me well. You know, you gotta keep things organized, but you also have to save. If you don't save, you're going to lose a project that you loved, that you're like got in the flow and you forgot to save. Oh God, it was 3 hours ago and I don't even know. Like some of the times the automatic backups from something like Reaper won't be as frequent as you would want to be. And maybe you did something really cool that you're going to just lose. If something crashes or, you know, the power goes out or something like that, you know, it's just going to be devastating to lose that creative project. So save early, save often. That's all I'm going to say about that.